Breaking Down the Law is sponsored by Battleborn Injury Lawyers.
Governor Lombardo signed Senate Bill 460 into law on Monday, and he calls it a landmark education bill. The 203-page bipartisan bill, the most comprehensive overhaul of Nevada's education system in decades. In fact, it creates new takeover powers for the state in failing districts while restricting some school choice options as well. The bill came from competing proposals by Governor Lombardo and Senate Majority Leader Nicole Cannizzaro, and both sides made some big concessions to strike a deal. So what's behind this education compromise, and why are both school choice advocates and teachers unions expressing serious concerns about the final product? Well, here to discuss it all, we have attorney Matt Hoffmann with Battleborn Injury Lawyers. And Matt, you say there are three key takeaways you want to talk about here.
Yeah, so it's a big bill, and there's a lot to it, and multiple segments could be addressed to any part of it. But there's the three big takeaways that are getting the most controversy. Is number one, this bill is clearly a settlement, where both sides are getting some of what they want, but a lot they don't. And the governor really wanted to increase school choice, and being able to transfer to different schools when needed, get out of the public schools, whereas the public school advocates wanted more funding for teachers, et cetera. What we get is three big issues that come out. Number one is the oversight. So underperforming schools are now going to be subject to oversight by this committee, this oversight committee based in Carson City headed by the governor. And if schools underperform consistently for, let's say, several periods of time, the oversight committee can literally take full control over the school, away from the administrators of the school itself. Now that might sound good on paper, but if you're these school districts, when you talk about underperforming, statistically that tends to happen in impoverished neighborhoods. And now all of a sudden you've got bureaucrats in Carson City telling you what to do and how to run your school, and they have no concept of the reality of what the kids are dealing with, right, in that neighborhood. Truancy issues, test scores, things like that.
And societal issues.
Societal issues, absolutely. So, it sets things up to really upset some of these school districts, some of these schools in these areas that have history of underperformance. And then you have the charter schools. So a lot of charter schools are very popular, and currently teachers in charter schools on core curriculum, 80% of the teachers have to have teaching certificates, traditional degrees, master's degrees, etc. The other 20% could be somebody like me, somebody who has 20 years of experience as a lawyer. I could come in and teach maybe a constitutional law, or I could teach a writing class, whatever. Under this new law, 100% of the teachers have to have a teaching certificate now in the charter schools. That could pose a big problem, because along with that requirement comes $250 million in raises for teachers. And now we already have a shortage of teachers.
Right.
It's hard to find educators with the requisite degrees, and the charter schools now are going to be competing against the public schools to get more teachers. And they have 3 years to phase it out, and there is a pathway for existing teachers to get the requisite certificate, but easier said than done.
Right.
And a lot of people like the charter schools in part because you've got non-traditional teachers, adjunct professors, if you will. And then the last part is Opportunity Scholarship. So the Opportunity Scholarship, wonderful program. If you qualify financially, I think it's at $7,500 per pupil that you can put towards a private school education. And so a lot of parents take advantage of that to maybe cut the cost of tuition in half, or there might be schools that kind of match that price point. And now you've got an option for your kid to go to a private education. Well, under this bill, with the Opportunity Scholarship, any school that participates, they now are subject to the same reporting requirements and testing requirements as the public schools, which sounds good.
I was going to say, why is that a problem?
It doesn't sound like a problem, except for these schools aren't built for it. They don't have the personnel in place. They don't have the testing programs in place. How do they implement this? Do they have to now go hire people just to comply with the Opportunity Scholarship requirements? And then think of the kids. You're sitting there amongst your peers, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, yeah, sorry, I got to go take this test today. What test? We're not taking a test. Oh, I have to take a test. And now you're kind of outing kids who might be at a private school on a scholarship. And I think that the concern on that is that some of the bigger private schools, think of Faith Lutheran High School or Bishop Gorman.
Right.
They might just opt out. They just might opt out and say it's not worth it. We just did a cost benefit. We have to hire 10 people in order to comply with the reporting requirements. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. Sorry.
You can't come here.
You can't come here.
Wow.
We're not going to accept, opportunity scholarship students.
Yeah.
So I hate to be super negative on this, but that's the concerns that are coming across from both sides, where everyone's just kind of looking at this bill going, ugh. Like, what did we really get here? On the public schools that underperform, now we're going to lose control to bureaucrats up in Carson City, to the charter schools. Now we have to go scramble and find, teachers with more requirements.
So it sounds like the goal was righteous, but maybe the devil is in the details.
I think so.
And how you get there.
And it almost feels like, it's bipartisan bill. It's almost like they were each trying to set up poison pills for each other. Right, hoping that this doesn't work.
Well, to your point, Nicole Cannizzaro was there at the signing with the governor, so that does speak to it being bipartisan. But like you said, there's some things that you can see both sides having a big issue with.
Yeah, so I mean, it doesn't go into effect until July 1st, 2026. That's when a lot of this starts, and then 2028 is the end date on the charter schools as far as having teachers with teaching certificates, et cetera. So it's going to be interesting to see. Once it goes into effect, does it all of a sudden result in new legislation 2 years from now where they're saying, hey, we got to fix it?
Very well.
It could. So parents need to watch out on this. This could have a significant impact.
All right.
Think of the Opportunity Scholarship. If you're a junior this year, you go for your senior year next year, and they're like, sorry, we don't take it anymore.
Sorry, we can't take you. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. Thank you so much for breaking down the law with us. And if you have any legal questions you want Matt to answer, please email us at breakingdownthelaw@news3lv.